You're listening to the Broken Havoc podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the frickin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications.
What's up, everybody? It is Broken Havoc here, right here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here to review WrestleMania Backlash 2022, coming to us from the Dunkin' Donuts Center in Providence, Rhode Island. Overall thoughts on this show. For a show that really I did not care about whatsoever, I ain't gonna lie, this show was definitely a home run. I absolutely enjoyed what I watched on the show. There were only two matches that were pretty garbage, and they were basically nothing matches, that being Bobby Lashley versus Omos, and also Madcap Moss versus Happy Corbin. But the rest of the matches on the card, there were not a lot of matches on the card. There was only 6 matches on the card, which is very rare for when it comes to a WWE show. Usually when it comes to WWE pay-per-views, they always have like 8 or 9 matches on the card. But overall thoughts on this show, it was a really good show. The majority of the matches absolutely delivered, that being 4 of the 6 matches that were on this card. Of course, we had Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins, their second encounter. Of course, their fantastic match at WrestleMania. Did this match live up to the hype? Honestly, that's a hard question for me to answer, mainly because of the fact that this match that they had at Backlash was so good, and it's hard for me basically to debate whether the WrestleMania or the Backlash match was much better. We had Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte in an I Quit match, which was absolutely insane. For someone that absolutely hated the build-up between Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair, they absolutely delivered in this I Quit match. We also had the 6-man tag team match, which was absolutely bonkers. We had Edge versus AJ Styles, in which Rhea Ripley is now the new member of Judgement Day, which I'm absolutely really happy about. I'll talk about all of this stuff that happened at WrestleMania Backlash and more. But before I get on with my WrestleMania Backlash review, make sure to like and subscribe to the Broken Havoc podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the freaking referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, the Broken Havoc podcast is now available in audio format. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So you guys want to check out the Broken Havoc podcast in audio format, it is available on those platforms. All right, let's talk about WrestleMania Backlash. Again, overall, I thought this was a really, really good show in my opinion. Again, there were 6 matches on the card, and two of those matches were not good, and really 4 out of the 6 matches were fantastic in my opinion. Overall, great show, great matches. The show kicked off with Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. Of course, Cody versus Seth 2. I definitely do see this being a trilogy, and I see having their next match at the next pay-per-view, which is Hell in a Cell, which will be taking place in the beginning of June. Hopefully it's inside Hell in a Cell, but I'll talk about that later on. Overall thoughts on this match. This is a great opener for the show. I absolutely enjoyed this match for what it was. This was one of the matches that I was definitely looking forward to when it came to this pay-per-view. It was at the same time where I was like literally pissed off of the fact that, we got basically Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre inserted in the tag team unification match, in which it just did not become a tag team unification match anymore, which made no sense. But overall, I thought the 6-man was fine. But enough about the 6-man. We'll talk about that later on. We're going to be talking about Cody versus Seth. The chemistry between the two in the ring was absolutely fantastic. Of course, the story that they're basically trying to tell is, in this match, Seth Rollins is basically, now finally ready to wrestle Cody Rhodes in this matchup. So that's why, definitely Seth Rollins, in a way, I don't want to necessarily say had Cody's number in the beginning stages of the match, but you can definitely see Seth Rollins was definitely ready in this match. But the match starts. Cody both lock up, I should say. Cody lands on his feet with the backdrop attempt by Rollins, but then Rollins goes for a kick into the corner. He takes Cody into the other corner, and then we get a roll-up by Rollins, and we get a near fall. Seth then is showing that he is ready for his second encounter, of course. We get multiple waist lock reversals by both, and this is a pure example of awesome ass chemistry that these guys have. So we get a bunch of waist lock reversals by both. Rollins picks on Cody from behind, basically poking in the back of his head. But then Cody turns around and actually hits a furious right hand. Cody fights back with multiple rights and lefts in the corner. Then Seth Rollins escapes to the outside when Cody sets up the repeated right hands. Then after that, Cody chases Rollins to the outside, Seth then goes for repeated rights on Cody once they go back inside the ring. Seth then goes for a running knee, taking Cody to the outside. Cody then takes Rollins to the ring and steps to the ring steps head first. Then Cody runs into a clothesline by Rollins. Then one point I want to note during this match. So while Seth Rollins and Cody were on the outside fighting it out, you had Jimmy Smith on commentary basically stating that, Cody had ring rust and, he hadn't been basically wrestling in 6 years. And you had Corey Graves and Byron Saxton immediately shut that down. And then Corey Graves was like, he's been wrestling for those 6 years and all that stuff, which was kind of a dumb statement by Jimmy Smith, in my opinion. Stating that Cody Rhodes has ring rust is kind of dumb. But we get a right hand by Rollins. We get a side chin lock applied by Seth. Cody then fights back with the right, and then we get a right hand by Cody. Cody then picks up Seth Rollins and hits a delayed vertical suplex after that. Cody then hits a beautiful disaster kick. Then after that, Cody, we get a cover by Cody and a near fall. Cody then goes for rights to the head of Rollins. Then Rollins throws off Cody to the outside. Rollins then sends Cody to the barricade, and then he sends Cody headfirst to the announce table. Rollins then takes him back to the ring. We get a stomp by Rollins. We get a shot to the back of Cody. Both then exchange shots. Cody then gets sent chest first into the corner, and that being furiously in some furious manner. Rollins then goes for a takedown and a kick to the back of Cody. We get a side chinlock again applied by Seth Rollins. Cody then fights back. We get a headbutt by Rollins. Cody then goes for repeated rights. We get a sunset flip roll-up by Cody after that, and we get a near fall. We get a roll-up again. Then we get another near fall. Seth at this point is on the apron. Rollins then goes for a right hand, but then Cody comes back when Seth is on the top. Cody then picks up Seth from the top and hits another delayed suplex, but this time it's a delayed vertical superplex off the top. We get a chop by Rollins. We get another overhand shot by Cody. Both go for chop exchanges. Then we get a kick to the midsection by Rollins. We get a shoulder tackle after that by Cody. Cody then hits a power slam and then takes Rollins to the outside. Cody then tries to take Rollins off the top, but then Rollins escapes. Rollins then tries to go for a tope suicida, but then Cody hits a right hand after that. Cody then out of nowhere hits a beautiful Cody cutter. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Then Rollins goes for an elbow. He tries to go for the pedigree, but then Cody escapes. He hits an enziguri, and we get a super kick by Rollins. So Rollins hit the super kick and the enziguri. We get a cover and a near fall. Rollins then misses the curb stomp after that. Then Cody sets up the crossroads, but then gets sent to the apron. Cody then goes for a right and then goes to the top. Rollins then catches him for a pedigree attempt, but Cody reverses it and actually tries to go for a pedigree as well. But no, Rollins reverses it into a Falcon Arrow. Well, he reverses it into a rolling elbow, and then he managed to hit the Falcon Arrow. We get a cover by Rollins and a near fall. At this point, we got This Is Awesome chance. Rollins then tries to pick up Cody, but then Cody does not let him. We get a kick by Cody. Rollins then counters the disaster kick and hits a buckle bomb out of nowhere. So that was a nice transition right there. Then after that, Rollins then hits a beautiful frog splash off the top. We get a cover and a near fall. Rollins then goes to the top. He misses a splash. Then after that, Cody hits a super kick. He goes to the top. Rollins then proceeds to come back and hits a superplex. Then he tries to hit another, but Cody catches him and hits crossroads. So he hits the crossroads. We get a cover and a near fall when Rollins' foot was on the bottom rope. Then after that, Cody goes for a couple of rights and lefts on Seth on the announce table. Then Cody sends Seth back in the ring. Cody goes to the top and he misses a moonsault. Rollins then hits a pedigree. We get a cover and a near fall. Then Seth goes for a couple of kicks to the face of Cody. We get a couple of right hands by Seth, but then Seth goes for the Dusty Rhodes right hand. So Seth Rollins is being shady in this match, which I absolutely love. Of course, during the build of this match, one of those segments, Seth was mentioning Cody's father, that being the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. So it's only fitting that Seth is doing the Dusty Rhodes style right hands. Then Cody then catches him into the crossroads. He tries to go for another, but then Seth escapes. We get reversal after reversal at this point. We get a vertebreaker attempt, but Rollins goes for a roll-up, grabbing the tights of Cody Rhodes, but then Cody counters and rolls Seth Rollins up, doing the same thing by grabbing the tights of Seth Rollins. 1, 2, 3, Cody wins the match for the second time. Overall thoughts on this match. This was a fantastic opener for WrestleMania Backlash. I absolutely loved Cody versus Seth. The chemistry that both Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins have is absolutely amazing. This match, and I stated this on the WrestleMania Night 1 review, these guys deserve a trilogy. absolutely, these guys deserve a trilogy because it's only fitting. You know, Cody Rhodes' first feud back is with Seth Rollins, and then it should be with Randy Orton after that, and then it should be with Roman Reigns. Period. Cody Rhodes, right now, the way that WWE is utilizing Cody Rhodes is absolutely fantastic. Again, they changed nothing from his appearance in AEW. They changed nothing from his music to everything. They kept everything the same, which I absolutely love. And his matches are absolutely the same as well. And you honestly love to see it. I love to see it. And you, the viewer watching this video right now, absolutely love to see it. All right. So after that, we got Omos versus Bobby Lashley. This match is a match that I absolutely did not care for. It was a pretty slow match, really, in my opinion. I just did not care whatsoever. The build was pretty garbage. I didn't give a shit about it, and really nothing else. This is basically a nothing match to me. Lashley goes for repeated rights. Omos then tries to chokeslam, but then he tries to chokeslam Lashley, but then Lashley fights back. MVP is on the apron, so he's standing on the apron. Then he stares at Bobby Lashley real quick. Let me actually fix this layout real quick because it's actually kind of messing up, which I do not know why. There we go. My apologies. Then we get a back. Omos then sends Lashley into the corner. We get a back elbow by Omos. Omos then goes for a splash. At this point, Omos is in control. Lashley then tries to fight back, but Omos sends Lashley to the outside. Omos then picks up Lashley. Then he throws him down to the top turnbuckle after that. Omos then hits a boot. Omos then picks up Lashley, but then Lashley escapes. We get a back elbow by Lashley. Lashley then tries to apply a sleeper hold, but Omos escapes. Omos then runs into the corner. Lashley at this point gains momentum. Omos then gets caught in between the top and the middle rope. So we got some Big Show vibes going on right here. Because usually in Big Show matches, he always gets caught on the top and the middle rope. I instantly recall that triple threat match at WrestleMania 25. I'm kidding. But we get repeated rights again by Lashley. MVP then tries to have Omos escape with his cane. Then, after that, Lashley applies the Hurt Lock on the outside on MVP. Omos then takes the palm of the head of Lashley, but then Lashley escapes. Then he hits a flatliner. Lashley then tries to apply the Hurt Lock on Omos, but then Omos takes him into the corner. We get repeated elbows by Omos. We get an overhand shot by Lashley. Omos then runs into a double boot by Lashley after that. Lashley then hits a spear into the corner. Lashley then tries to pick up Omos, but then Omos escapes. Then Lashley plants Omos to the mat. He tries to hit the spear, but then Lashley gets sent shoulder first to the ring post by Omos. MVP then interferes with the cane, basically hitting him to the eye. Then after that, the referee wasn't looking, of course, and then Omos just plants Lashley to the mat. We get a cover, and Omos gets the win. Overall, again, this was really a nothing match to me. I just really felt I didn't feel invested in this match. I just felt like I just did not care. Like, it was one of those matches, one of two matches, I will say that I just absolutely did not care. I was afraid that I was going to get that with the Charlotte and Ronda match, but after the Charlotte-Ronda match, I was like, holy shit, that was an amazing-ass match. But overall, it was a fine match, but really, is it a match that you, the viewer, should be invested in? Absolutely not. All right, here's another match that was absolutely bonkers and much, 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 much better than their WrestleMania match. That being Edge versus AJ Styles. I remember when they first announced this match way back when, before WrestleMania even happened, I was totally stoked, telling you guys that this match is absolutely going to steal the show. But when we watched the match with Edge and AJ at WrestleMania, I was like, the match was fine, but really it did not live up to my standards, and I stand by that statement. Their first match at WrestleMania absolutely just did not live up to the hype. It just really did not. Let's be 100% honest here. But really, the highlight of that match was definitely Damian Priest coming in and, being the new quote-unquote apprentice for Edge. Of course, Edge now has this new faction called Judgment Day, which is absolutely fantastic, and it's definitely set to elevate a guy like Damian Priest. But we did get a reveal for the new member of Judgment Day, and that is Rhea Ripley, which I'm absolutely happy about. I'll talk about that later on after I go through my notes on what happened on the match. So the match starts again, and one stipulation that was added on the match, and this actually was a stipulation that was on Raw. Basically, it was Edge versus Damian Priest. If Damian Priest lost, Damian Priest was banned from ringside. So that stipulation is added in this match in Edge versus AJ Styles, so Damian Priest is banned. So both AJ and Edge brawl and go at it. AJ goes for repeated stomps into the corner. Then he sends Edge into the corner, but then Edge stops. AJ then hits a dropkick. AJ then takes Edge to the outside and hits him head first to the steel steps. Then he sends him to the barricade, then hits him headfirst onto the announce table. AJ then takes Edge back in the ring. So really, for the majority of the beginning stages of this match, AJ is really gaining the offense in this match. AJ then takes Edge back in the ring, but Edge escapes. AJ then hits a dropkick on Edge. AJ then goes to the apron. Then he hits a beautiful springboard moonsault from the middle rope, taking out Edge to the outside. AJ then goes back to the apron, and he tries to hit the phenomenal forearm, but then Edge out of nowhere hits the boot back in the ring. Then at this point, AJ is selling his left shoulder. Edge then Styles' shoulder first to the post. Then after that, so basically during this portion of the match, Edge is targeting the left shoulder of AJ. AJ's on the outside. Edge goes for repeated right hands. Then he takes AJ and then he basically hits a slingshot. He slingshots AJ to the ring post. Then Edge takes his arm of AJ and just hits it on the steel steps. Then after that, Edge takes AJ back in the ring. AJ then takes down AJ to the mat using the arm of AJ. Then he applies a shoulder lock. AJ then tries to fight back. Edge hits a DDT using the left arm of AJ Styles, so continuing to work on the injured arm, I should say. Edge then applies a shoulder lock. Edge then throws Styles to the top rope. Edge goes for repeated stomps on AJ. AJ then goes for a couple of rights. Then, out of nowhere, Styles hits the one and only Pele kick. Now, please, AJ Styles, I've stated this in multiple Raw reviews. Please go for the inverted DDT and the spiral tap. Now, he does the inverted DDT still, but he doesn't really do the spiral tap anymore. In any AJ Styles match that I have seen on Raw for like the past couple years, I really haven't seen him do the spiral tap. Please do the spiral tap just one more time. Both hit a double crossbody after that. I'm just kidding. Then AJ goes for a clothesline. AJ then goes for a sliding forearm, and then he hits a forearm into the corner. Then he picks up Edge, but then Edge escapes. But AJ plants Edge head first, or I should say face first. My apologies. I messed up my notes right there. AJ then takes Edge up. Then AJ goes for repeated rights. He goes up to the top and he hits a beautiful Hurricane Rana off the top. We get a cover and a near fall. Edge then tries to go for the execution, but then AJ counters by picking up Edge and dropping him from the back, or I should say to the back of his neck. Then after that, we get a cover by Edge and a near fall. At this point, AJ targets the knee of Edge, or I should say we get a cover by AJ and the near fall. AJ then proceeds to target the knee of Edge. Edge then targets the shoulder of AJ and then drops him down to the mat. Edge then applies a crossface submission, but then AJ counters into the calf crusher, but then Edge takes AJ's head to the mat, but AJ once again applies the calf crusher. Then Edge goes to the bottom rope. Then AJ out of nowhere hits a German suplex on the Rated R superstar Edge, but Edge takes off the turnbuckle while he was getting hit by the German suplex. But what happens? Then AJ pushes Edge, and Edge lands headfirst onto the exposed turnbuckle. Then after that, we get a roll-up and a near fall. Edge then hits a spear when they were showing the replay. We get a cover by Edge and a near fall. AJ then counters the spear and hits a step-up knee. Then AJ takes Edge to the top rope and then says Edge for the Styles Clash. We get a cover by Styles and a near fall. AJ then goes to the apron, but at this point, while he was on the apron, it looked like he was going to set up for the phenomenal forearm. At this point, he was selling his arm. So instead of going for the phenomenal forearm, he goes to the top. Probably you were going to do the spiral tap. I'm just saying. But, AJ goes to the top. But what happens? Damian Priest was banned from ringside, so he was not really in the ringside area. He was just in basically by, the stage in a way. But what happens after that is Damian Priest comes in. He gets distracted, but what happens? Finn Balor out of nowhere instantly comes in and attacks Damian Priest. But there's someone out of nowhere who is masked and takes down AJ from the top. Edge then applies the crossface and then transitions into a deep choke, I should say, on AJ Styles. Edge fades, or not Edge fades, AJ fades, and Edge wins the match. Overall, this match was fantastic. It was so much better. So much better than a WrestleMania match. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Their WrestleMania match, although it was a fine match, again, as I've stated earlier, it did not live up to my expectations. Overall, I enjoyed Edge versus AJ Styles, and after that, the mysterious individual reveals themselves, and who is it? It's Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley is now a part of Judgment Day. I absolutely support this decision, mainly because of the fact that Rhea Ripley, hasn't really been doing anything on the main roster. Oh, but Broken, she has been in a tag team with Liv Morgan. Yeah, make a makeshift tag team. Who cares? The women's tag team division is really nothing, and you really need to elevate the women's division. I feel like this is the best way for them to elevate the women's division. Really, ever since, even when Rhea Ripley was Raw Women's Champion last year, I felt like her title reign was kind of lackluster in my opinion. It was kind of a joke, if you ask me. And that is nothing against Rhea Ripley, considering the fact that Rhea Ripley is fantastic at what she does. I just felt like her babyface promos felt just a little too scripted. I remember that one segment when she was like, oh, I'm not, she called herself a nightmare, and she said it in some cringeworthy fashion. And that's nothing against Rhea Ripley. It's just how the system is set up. But I feel like Rhea Ripley can definitely be a success as a heel and also a part of Judgment Day, considering the fact that, again, one of the main reasons why this faction is built is to elevate guys like Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest, and we need one more member as a part of the group as well. I definitely do see a guy like Tommaso Ciampa being a part of the group. Who knows? But granted, Ali was not even, he's doing his stuff with Ali by just attacking him for no reason, which makes absolutely no sense. But we'll have to wait and see in the future. A lot of people are saying Finn Balor could possibly turn on AJ Styles. I definitely do see that being the case. It could possibly happen as well. So could you imagine Finn Balor being a part of Judgment Day? I'd absolutely love for that to happen. But we'll have to wait and see. I feel like Judgment Day is a fantastic faction, and all of the work that Edge has been doing has paid off, in my opinion. All right. We got Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey in an I Quit match. Now, you guys know me. I thought the feud with Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey, the build up to WrestleMania was absolute garbage. And even after WrestleMania was that garbage. I even stated on the SmackDown review just like yesterday that, they tried really hard by having them both brawl. And the highlight of that brawl was basically Pat McAfee. But overall, I will say, the Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey match, it wasn't bad at WrestleMania. But again, if you really compare that match to Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch, really what match you're going to choose? I don't know about you, but I would have chosen Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch. That was definitely one of the highlights of WrestleMania. And Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey, and the build for that match was absolutely atrocious, mainly because of Ronda Rousey. And I say that on Ronda Rousey because of the fact that her promos have been really, really, really lackluster. Like you listen to Ronda Rousey speak on the microphone, and she sounds so casual. She's just like, yeah, so I'm going to be facing Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I'm definitely excited. Like, there's no enthusiasm when it comes to her promo. She's fantastic in the ring, but as the babyface, it doesn't cut it for me. But we got Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. I will say, this match was absolutely brutal and absolutely fantastic. I absolutely loved every minute of this I Quit match. It was great. I loved it. I'll be honest. I'll be the first one to tell you. As much as the build is absolutely shit, this match was really good. The match starts and the action instantly goes on. Charlotte misses a boot. She misses a big boot, but both at this point go at it. Ronda then goes for a knee. We get a back elbow by Charlotte when Ronda has a waistlock applied. We get a couple of arm drags by Ronda. Ronda then runs into a knee. Charlotte then goes for a clothesline. Then she tries to pick up Ronda, but then Ronda reverses it and takes her down. Ronda then picks up Charlotte, but then Charlotte escapes. Then she hits a shot to the back of Ronda Rousey. Charlotte then hits a German suplex after that. Ronda then hits a running knee, countering the figure 8 attempt. Or really, it's first the figure 4, and then while she has the figure 4 applied, she goes for the figure 8. So that's kind of a little typo right there. But Ronda then goes for a takedown, tries to apply the armbar. Both then fall to the outside. Charlotte then sends Ronda multiple times onto the barricade. Then Charlotte hits a couple of chops. Wants to send Ronda to the post, but then Ronda reverses it and sends Charlotte to the ring post instead. Then Charlotte gets sent to the timekeeper's area. Ronda comes in, but then Charlotte at this point hits a devastating boot on Ronda Rousey. She asks if Ronda Rousey, I shouldn't say she, the referee asks if Ronda wants to quit, but Ronda says no, of course, in typical babyface fashion. Charlotte then gets a kendo stick, but misses. Then Ronda has the kendo stick and runs off, and that being Charlotte, runs off to the stage. But then once Charlotte goes all the way down into the stage, I believe she goes to Gorilla, she grabs 2 other kendo sticks. So she has 2. Charlotte gains advantage by hitting Ronda with the 2 kendo sticks, but then gets caught and then gets taken down by Ronda, in which Ronda is able to get both kendo sticks. So after that, Ronda then gets the sticks and hits Charlotte repeatedly with those kendo sticks. Charlotte, then the referee asks Charlotte if she wants to quit, and then she says hell no. Charlotte then grabs the camera. Then after that, she hits the camera on Ronda Rousey. Both fight it out on the stage. Then after that, Charlotte throws a drink on Ronda Rousey. I should say both fight it out in the crowd. Then she sends Ronda to the wall. Then after that, Ronda says no to the referee. Both go up, and then she wraps Ronda. So Charlotte, once they were going up the steps of the crowd, Charlotte, takes Ronda inside of the rails of the steps and literally applies a clutch-like maneuver. It looked like a clutch. And she applies it on Ronda while Ronda is inside of the railing. So that looked really painful. Then, Ronda, the referee asks Ronda if she wants to quit. Of course, Ronda says no. Charlotte then goes for a slap. She tries to hit Ronda with the chair, but then gets caught. Charlotte then tries to run away after that. Charlotte then hits a kick onto the chair. Charlotte then takes Ronda and sends her headfirst to the announce table after that. Then she picks up Ronda and hits a powerbomb onto the barricade. Ronda then is asked by the referee once again, and she answers no. Ronda then goes for a slap and then picks up Charlotte, but Charlotte gouges the eyes of Ronda, sending Ronda to the ring post after that. Then Charlotte goes to the top, but then Ronda takes her down. She applies an armbar from the apron upside down, which looked absolutely brutal. And when the referee had the microphone, you could you heard that screaming in pain of Charlotte Flair. Like, bro, she was screaming like crazy, not even answering the question. Like, this looked brutal as fuck. So basically, that whole armbar was applied upside down. So she takes Ronda, and so after that, Charlotte replies in, furiously in pain, like, no. Both then get taken down to the floor, but then Charlotte grabs a chair. Then Pat McAfee on commentary. This is funny. So there was a kid in the front row with a Fiend mask. And then Pat McAfee on commentary was like, was that a Fiend in the front row? You gotta love Pat McAfee. That was absolutely hilarious. Charlotte then hits Ronda with the chair. Then she takes Ronda back in the ring, but then Charlotte hits the natural selection on Ronda onto the chair once they're back in the ring. Then Ronda answers no once again to the referee. Charlotte then applies the figure eight, and then after that, Ronda, once Ronda is asked, she says never bitch, and then she hits Charlotte with the chair. We get a running kick by Charlotte, but then Charlotte gets the microphone and says this is Ronda's last chance, and she screams Happy Mother's Day, which of course Mother's Day was yesterday, so Happy Mother's Day to everybody. I forgot to say Happy Mother's Day in yesterday's video, but it's in the description below. But again, Happy Mother's Day to everybody. I forgot to say Happy Mother's Day, everybody. But she says Happy Mother's Day, and then what happens? Charlotte gets caught into the armbar on the chair, and then Charlotte screams no. And then Ronda gets the microphone. She's like, I was hoping you would say that. And then she basically just wrenches the freaking arm of Charlotte by having Charlotte, Charlotte just absolutely just screamed after that. Charlotte quits. Ronda Rousey wins, and Ronda Rousey is your new SmackDown Women's Champion. Overall thoughts on this match? Again, the feud and the build-up was absolute shit and absolute garbage. It was crap. It sucked. It was garbage. But this match, you cannot deny that this match was so good. I don't give a shit what anybody says. You fucking AEW neckbeards or you E-drones. Granted, this is WWE, whatever. You E-drones or AEW neckbeards. I don't care. This match was pretty good. I loved the match for what it was. It was a fun match to watch. And I'm not going to lie. The commentary team made it better. I mean, you had Pat McAfee and Michael Cole on commentary. The commentary team made it so much better to enjoy. I loved this match. It was fantastic. It was great. I loved it. Hopefully this feud can end now. All right. We got Baron Corbin versus Madcap Moss. Basically, according to welcome to Sleep Fest. I mean, this match was definitely a piss break because this feud is absolutely useless in my opinion. It was pure garbage. I didn't like it. I didn't care about this match. The match starts. Both lock up. We get a kick to the knee by Moss. Then he takes Moss headfirst to the top turnbuckle. Moss then gains advantage. We get a hip toss by Moss after that. Then Moss gets taken to the apron, but then we get a kick by Corbin. Then he hits a chokeslam. He stomps Moss. Moss then goes to the outside. We get a running knee by Corbin, sending Moss to the post. We get repeated rights by Corbin after that. At this point, both are back in the ring. Corbin is in control. Corbin then goes for repeated rights. Moss then fights back. Then after that, he gets sent into the corner. Corbin then goes for a clothesline. We get a cover by Corbin and a near fall. Corbin then goes, he basically drops him after that and then hits a senton. We get a cover into near fall. At this point, Moss goes for an elbow. Corbin then gets sent over the top rope. Moss then hits a shoulder tackle, sending Corbin to the outside once again. We get repeated rights by Moss. Then he sends Corbin to the ring post. At this point, Moss hits a spear into the corner, but then for the second time runs into a knee. Moss then goes for a fall-away slam, and we get a cover and a near fall. Moss then tries to hit the punchline, but then Corbin counters and plants Moss to the mat. Then after that, we get a cover and a near fall. Corbin then goes for repeated rights once again. Then he's in the corner doing the same thing. Moss goes to the top. Corbin out of nowhere hits the deep six, but I believe he tried to go for a cover. I don't recall. I didn't write that into my notes. My apologies, everybody. This match sucked. Corbin then goes for a splash in the corner. We got a sunset flip, roll up by Moss, and Moss gets the win. Honestly, this match was a throwaway match. Honestly, I just did not care at all. The feud is garbage. This was garbage. I just didn't care. Again, Bobby Lashley versus Omos, and this match itself, matches that nobody really you don't need to care. Like, this is a nothing match. Okay, I don't care what anybody says. This is a nothing match. I didn't care at all about this match. All right, let's move on. Kayla Braxton is backstage, and she gets a report confirming that Charlotte suffered a fraction of the radius. And then Pat McAfee on commentary explained it so much better. She basically broke her arm. That was basically I believe that's in kayfabe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think that's actually real. I think it's in kayfabe. But we got the Bloodline versus Drew McIntyre and RK Bro in the main event. You guys know my deal. I thought the fact that they changed, that they were building up for the majority up to this pay-per-view, and yes, I'm going to call it a pay-per-view, not a premium live event. It's a pay-per-view to me. The fact that they were they were building up to a tag team championship unification match between RK Bro and the Usos. And the fact that they changed it into Roman Reigns, by adding Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre into the match, made no sense. Not only that, in storyline, it made no sense because Roman was the one that wanted the Usos to go after the Raw Tag Team titles and unify the Tag Team Championships, yet Roman was the one that ripped the contract up a couple weeks later. That made absolutely no sense whatsoever. I don't care. Apparently, this is a network thing. The networks want exclusivity within the stars, so Fox wants their own stars, and then NBC Universal wants their own stars. It is a stupid deal to make. It's a stupid thing to say. Mainly because of the fact that, yes, they're two competing corporate companies, but, bro, you're in a deal with WWE. Who gives a single shit? It's dumb. But, yeah. So, apparently, the networks want exclusivity when it comes to the wrestlers, which is absolutely ridiculous. But, yeah, man, overall thoughts on this main event. Now, what they should have done was have all of the championships be on the line. That would have made this match much, 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 much better, in my opinion. But they didn't do that. Instead, this is just a normal six-man tag team match. Granted, though. Granted, this match was absolutely awesome. I don't care what anybody says. Especially near the end, with the Usos and RK Bro, bro, this match, this match felt was something that, especially near the end, something that you really would, feel out of an AEW match. If you watch an AEW six-man match, for example, you get the Young Bucks versus, I don't know, John Silver and Alex Reynolds, you'd get a lot of the stuff that you saw near the end of this match. I'm being 100% honest here. This match was fantastic. I absolutely loved the match. We had a tease with Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns, in which one of my favorite highlights of the match, basically Roman makes the tag, and then basically saying, "Oh, you want to go after me?" But no, he basically trolls everybody and tags one of the Usos in. That's hilarious. That's definitely heel shit right there. But overall, fantastic main event. Look, for all we can bitch about, the fact that they changed an advertised match. Not only that, they changed the match that they were building up to into a match that had no titles on the line. Yes, we can bitch about that, but let's be 100% real here. The match was great. I don't give a crap what anybody says, man. This match was fantastic. I loved the match. It was awesome. So Randy starts with Jimmy Uso. Both lock up. We got a couple of body shots in the corner by Jimmy Uso. Randy then pokes the eye of Jimmy. Riddle then tags in. We got a double team attempt by RK Bro. We get a cover and a near fall. Jimmy reverses and sends Randy into the corner. We get a couple of right hands by Jimmy. We get a kick by Riddle. Then Riddle applies a gut wrench. Then after that, Drew makes the tag. Drew throws Jimmy into the corner. He hits two chops on Jimmy. So Jimmy fights back. Jimmy then gets hit into the midsection. Drew after that hits a suplex. Roman is thinking that he should tag in. Paul Heyman says otherwise. Paul Heyman is kissing his ass on the outside. So, Roman is thinking that he should tag in. Roman actually finally makes the tag. And this was awesome. Again, this is one of my favorite highlights of the match. Roman faces off against Drew McIntyre, basically teasing a future match between Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns, which is definitely going to be happening in the future. A lot of people are saying it's going to be on that UK Stadium show. Who knows? I don't think they should go straight to Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns now. That's just me, but they were definitely teasing a match between Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns. But after Roman tags in, he faces off against Drew McIntyre, and then the crowd goes apeshit. And then Roman was like, nope. So instead, he tags Jey Uso. Main event Jey Uso. So he tags in Jey Uso. That's definitely heel heat right there. That was awesome. Roman, after that, we get a belly-to-belly suplex throw by Drew McIntyre on Jey Uso. Riddle then makes the tag. Riddle goes for a jumping stomp. We get a suplex by Riddle after that. Jimmy then goes for a blind tag. We get a kick to the back of Riddle by Jimmy Uso. We get a double team attempt by the Usos after that. Jimmy then works on Riddle, who is on the middle rope. Jay then goes for a cheap shot. Jay tags in. Both Usos work on Riddle after that. Jay goes for a slam on Riddle. Jay continues to work on Riddle. Jimmy then hits a stomp from the apron, who is not legal, so a bunch of cheap shots going on by the Usos. Of course, they're heels. What do you expect? Jimmy then tags in, and then Jay picks up Riddle. We get a knee to the spine, as one of the commentators stated, by Jey Uso. Jimmy then goes to the top and then takes out Riddle. Roman then makes the tag, and he takes down Riddle. He sends Riddle into the corner and goes for repeated rights. We get a couple of body shots by Matt Riddle after that. Reigns then goes for an elbow. Roman then plants Riddle to the mat, and we get a cover and a near fall. Jimmy Uso then makes the tag. And what happens after that? He sends Riddle into the corner. He hits a chop. Jimmy then tries to hit the splash, the Uso splash, I should say, but Riddle ducks and lands onto the ring post. Jay then makes the tag after that. He sends Riddle's shoulder first to the post, and then Jay hits a super kick on Randy. Then Jay runs into a running knee. Roman then tags in, and then Drew tags in, and then Roman has that look on his face saying, oh, I fucked up. So after that, Roman has that scared look on his face. Both brawl. Then we get a couple of exchanges between Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns. Roman goes for a knee. Then he sends Drew into the corner, but then Drew fires back with the clothesline. And then we get a second clothesline after that. We get a belly-to-belly throw by Drew, and then he hits a neckbreaker on Roman, and then he hits a neckbreaker on Jay, and then he takes out Jay, and then Reigns out of nowhere hits a Superman punch. Then Roman works on Riddle on the outside. Roman then goes for a kick. Roman then goes for repeated clotheslines on Drew into the corner. Reigns then takes down Drew. Heyman then gives Roman both titles, the Universal and the WWE title. Roman shows off how good he is with both titles up the top, but then gives it back to Heyman. Roman, after that, goes for a right on Matt Riddle. Then he faces off with Randy Orton, who is on the apron, but then turns around and out of nowhere gets hit with the Claymore by Drew McIntyre, which was awesome. The crowd goes absolutely apeshit for that. And then after that, the hot tag is made between Jimmy and Randy Orton. Again, Randy at this point is on fire, so he goes for multiple clotheslines after that. We get a power slam by Randy, and then by Jay. Then he takes Riddle to the middle rope. And then out of nowhere, he hits a DDT. Then after that, he sets up the RKO, but then Jimmy Uso interferes. But then Jimmy gets taken down to the outside. Then Roman comes in out of nowhere and hits. And so he comes in out of nowhere, try to attack Randy Orton. But out of nowhere, Randy Orton hits the RKO out of nowhere, which was fantastic. We get a super kick by Jimmy Uso, but then Randy no-sells it and hits the fucking RKO on Jey Uso on Jimmy, I should say. We get a cover and a near fall when Jay interferes. Drew then goes after Jay. He throws Jay across the ring, and then Drew sets up the Claymore, but then runs into a super kick by the Usos. And then the Usos hit the double super kick. Jay and Riddle tag in. We get an overhead kick by Riddle. We get a running forearm in the corner by Riddle. We get a couple of kicks by Roman onto the outside. He throws Jay. We get a kick by Jimmy. He misses a moonsault and hits the Broton instead on Jey Uso in the center of the ring. We get a running knee. Then he hits a fisherman suplex. He goes to the top. Riddle then hits the floating bro. We get a cover and a near fall after that. We get a roll up by Jay. Jay then hits a pump up neck breaker after that. We get a cover and Randy interferes. Randy then takes out Jimmy onto the outside, and then Roman hits a Superman punch. Yes, Roman hits a Superman punch on the one and only Randy Orton. And then Drew sends Reigns to the steel steps, and then Drew sends him to the announce table. Then Jimmy tries to come in, but then Drew hits the Glasgow kiss out of nowhere. But then Roman fires back and then throws Drew McIntyre through the table. That being, he hits a Uranagi on Drew through the announce table after that. Then Riddle goes for a senton on the outside out of nowhere. But then Jay, after Riddle hits the senton, Jey Uso hits the tope suicida, taking out everybody on the outside, which was a fantastic visual to see. Then Jay takes Riddle back in the ring. And this is where the shit really got down. This is definitely something out of AEW's playbook right here. We get a spinning enziguri by Jey Uso, but then Riddle fires back with a jumping knee. And then we get a super kick again by Jey Uso. At this point, we get a standing ovation from the crowd. Jey goes up to the top, but then Riddle comes in, and then he hits an RKO off the top. But what happens? Roman Reigns comes in, and he hits the freaking spear out of nowhere. We get a cover. 1, 2, 3, and the Bloodline win the fucking match. Overall thoughts on this match. Holy shit, I'm out of breath. This match was absolutely fantastic. I don't care what anybody says, man. You're like, yes, we can bitch and complain about the fact that this match was not a unification match, and I'm still pissed off about that. But let's be honest. Let's be real right here. Let's be 100% real right here. You definitely enjoyed this match when you were watching it. Don't BS me, please. You enjoyed this match when you were watching it. This match was absolutely fantastic. I loved the match for what it was. It was great. I just loved all the spots that were going on, especially near the end. The spots were absolutely insane. Roman with his heel tactics, especially when he tagged in and wanted to face Drew, but then instead tagged Jey Uso. That was absolutely hilarious. Again, fantastic. The Bloodline are up to the top. Now, what are we seeing in the future when it comes to Roman Reigns? I definitely do see a guy like Cody Rhodes winning the title. It makes total sense for that to happen, but apparently they're not going to keep the titles unified, so they're definitely going to be splitting the titles once again. So I see Drew taking possibly the Universal Championship and Cody taking the WWE Championship and bringing back the Winged Eagle. That's what I definitely do see in the near future. But again, we'll have to wait and see. I hope that they do not, just go straight for, Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns. I hope they do not do that. I hope that they go straight for Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns, and then go to Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns, and then go to Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. Hopefully that is the case, but we'll have to wait and see in the near future. But overall, thoughts on the pay-per-view. I thought, for a show that I just did not give a shit about, I enjoyed the show for what it was. It was a great show. I enjoyed it. 4 out of the 6 matches were absolutely amazing, and 2 of those matches were pure garbage, but whatever. Who cares? 4 of those matches were fantastic, and the main event, holy crap, tore the house down. I don't care what anybody says. It absolutely tore the house down. And overall, this is a great show. I wouldn't necessarily say amazing show, but overall, this is a great show by WWE. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to sit here and just be like, oh, it's the best show that they've ever done. But it was a great show. The matches were absolutely awesome on this show, and the main event was just absolutely fantastic. So yeah, that was my WrestleMania Backlash 2022 review. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the Broken Havoc podcast. And as always, it is Broken Havoc signing out.